One thing that I have been looking to explore, and I know I've had conversations with the two of you individually, is the challenge around e-commerce on the continent, and really the barriers that are actually hindering the growth of e-commerce the way we would actually want it to be. So in your own words, maybe Josh, if you could take us on here, what do you think is actually holding e-commerce within the markets on the continent, and what do you think we can actually do about it as e-commerce partners, as agencies, as players in the space, payment solutions? Like, what do you think we should definitely do about it?
Yeah, and I think it's a great question, Joel. I've always felt like, even when we worked in payments and things like that, that people would, e-commerce would begin to thrive when people find a reason to live more online. And I think for the most part, most people don't, they might go online for WhatsApp, for Facebook, but they really didn't have anything vital that they needed to go online. So for you to get them to go online to basically then just, pay for goods, pay for money, when all they hear about is all those 419 scams, the Nigerian scams, etc. That was a bit of a barrier. I think, however, as governments begin to and like force people to go for government services online, as companies are coming into the region and bring in convenience services, like Glovo is a huge convenience service that really just cuts down the time. It's really breaking down the barriers, because now people figure out that, yeah, you know what, a lot of things I can cut down time and actually just get this done online. And I think because of the confidence that is building, the more they do things online and figure out that, yes, I can pay and still get my things, then it really is a prime time for that. I think, like years ago when me and you worked together, it was a very different thing. We had to almost break down why online is necessary, why a smartphone is necessary. You don't have to do that anymore. Now it's just, people want to understand what the options are, what the prices are, and how soon they can get what they want. So I feel that, maybe Kenya is a bit ahead from other markets in that regard. But I think because of this journey, that the more we see more of these services, and I think especially as governments begin to really hand over a lot of their service provisions to online, it really just opens up the game for everybody. And I think I think it then becomes more of a norm and an opportunity for businesses to then figure out how to then get online and make their voice heard.
Speaking of governments, I was when I was driving here this morning, I heard on the radio that the government in Sudan, Juba, is actually no longer going to accept visa on arrival payments. Everything has to be done through an online portal to promote accountability. And it's really interesting that you're bringing out the government aspect, and a lot of governments are beginning to realize this. Priscilla, what do you think is the biggest barrier?
I'll agree with Joshua. I think trust is a key barrier, because actually the challenge is I order something online, and also I need to make sure that what I get is the same as what I saw on the platform. So we have instances where people order for something, but when it comes, it's not the same thing that you ordered, and that leads to disappointment. And I would prefer to go into the store and touch and feel the item before I buy it. So, but I still believe that we are at the nascent stage of e-commerce disruption in Africa in general. I think we are where maybe the US was maybe in 2004, 2005, and the best is yet to come. And like Joshua pointed out, if you're starting to see governments, embracing online services, etc., it just tells us that we have a long way to go, but we'll get there. The other thing is, trust is one of them, but the cost of logistics in Kenya is super expensive, especially for last mile. So if you look at a couple of the platforms, to get your groceries delivered is about 250, and this is simply because of the fact that the logistics, the cost of logistics is expensive. We have to pay the riders. We have to figure, there's a whole infrastructure behind it. So I think cost of logistics is also a barrier. So you will see people are not able to order for things below a certain amount, because it doesn't make sense when the cost of logistics is 30% of your total value of the goods. So that's still a barrier. So it's up to us as e-commerce companies to figure out how do we lower this cost? What can we do? Be able to bundle some orders together so that it ends up being much, much cheaper. Coming up with innovative ways of reducing the cost of logistics, because it is a barrier. And we've seen this. So whenever we run a free delivery campaign on groceries, the number of orders almost quadrupled because of, you're not paying anything. And it's amazing because people are willing to give you 5,000 shillings in terms of the value of the goods, but they have a problem paying that 250 shillings as a cost of logistics. So yeah, I think that's another barrier in terms of trust and cost of logistics.